Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day to start things off. While crypto prices may have ostensibly kicked the bucket, there are some optimists who have done their best to disregard prices, focusing on the adoption and development of this space instead. Ever since Bitcoin's mind-boggling run from $1,000 to $20,000 and subsequent decline, CNBC's Fast Money show has taken an interest in crypto. While CNBC's coverage of the crypto market often focuses on short-term price action, predictions, and the like, the founder of Litecoin did his best to focus on another important aspect of the industry in a recent Fast Money appearance. Here he is right there. This is also something interesting. I don't have the article inside here. Charlie Lee recently stated that he is not going to buy back his Litecoin that he sold simply because it would be a conflict of interest. On that same exact topic, a lot of other people in the comment section and other videos as well have been stating that Charlie Lee didn't sell his Litecoin, that he donated it. Charlie Lee has said many times that he sold it, and that's why you can even check his Twitter. He says that he sold it, and part of the argument is that he says that he didn't sell it at the all-time high because people thought that he sold at the all-time high in order to make a profit, or that he somehow knew that the price was going to go that high and therefore he could profit accordingly. So we know that he sold it, but now he is stating that he is not going to buy it back simply because he doesn't want people to think that he's conflicting his interests or something like that. Anyway, staying true to his name, or its name, Fast Money began its segment by querying Litecoin founder Charlie Lee when he sees Bitcoin surpassing $20,000 yet again. Responding by doing what he does best to stay away from providing a clear prediction, Lee stated, and I quote, "I mean, it's hard to predict prices, and I have been in this space for 7 years now. I think sometimes it comes back within 6 months or a year, but sometimes it takes 3 to 4 years, so it's kind of hard to say," end quote. Following his reply, CNBC host Melissa Lee then went on to ask the Litecoin founder about if prices, in general, signify the adoption or viability of a crypto asset. Dividing his reply into two components, Lee first spoke on a long-term outlook, pointing out that the prices do in fact represent the success of an asset, obviously. On the other hand, short-term prices don't really tell us much. Back in the latter statement, the Litecoin founder noted that even though adoption rates are rising, Bitcoin, along with the majority of altcoins, still fell by over 70% this year. This clearly outlines an issue with price speculation, as systems, services, or goods should ideally be valued via the network effect rather than the short-term irrationality of traders. Nonetheless, Lee still sees current prices as a more than viable zone of accumulation, giving CNBC viewers advice in the following statement. He said, and I do quote, "I think it's a good time to buy on the way down. To dollar cost average your buy in. That's what I would recommend for everyone to do, as long as you don't spend money that you can't afford to lose. I think this strategy is fine," end quote. Taking his statement, along with the sentiment held by OneChain and Shapeshift CEO into account, it becomes clear that now is an optimal time to purchase crypto assets for long-term hodling. I'm going to end it there, not really going to read the rest of the article. What it comes down to is that a lot of people have been coming forward in the last couple of weeks, especially weeks, saying that they definitely think that crypto is, that it's not going to get much cheaper. I personally don't see a future. I don't see prices being this low in 2019. I'm not going to lie. I have FOMO'd into the market more than a couple of times. Typically when the market is going down, I try not to go when the hype pumps are there. But I've said this guy before, even just Litecoin in general, I think Litecoin is so undervalued, especially even if it's just 4 times quicker than Bitcoin. That should be a huge indication. Me personally, I don't think Litecoin should be anywhere under 3 digits, especially if Bitcoin is in the mid to high 4 digits. I think a lot of people aren't paying attention to what Litecoin is. I think Litecoin has kind of fallen to the back, and I think that's partially because of Charlie Lee. I don't not like him. I just wish that he was more dominant in the space, if I can kind of say that. We've seen how intense the creator of Cardano is, Vitalik Buterin, even what's his face? Brad Garlinghouse, like going on TV, like they talk with a certain amount of conviction. Maybe I'm just a jerk and I don't understand how nice of a guy Charlie Lee really is. He's always so timid. He's always so shy. He's always so he always gives maybes and not yeses. Like all the other coins, they kind of come forward and say, no, my coin is going to do this. My coin is definitely going to dominate the entire space. Like we are crypto. My coin will be number one. And Charlie Lee's like, well, I'm happy being number two. You know, I definitely sold us some. Like it's very like sheepish almost. It's very like calm. I think Litecoin, me personally, this is how I feel. I think Litecoin could be or could have been a lot higher in price right now if Charlie Lee had never sold and kind of took a more dominant approach. You know, he can definitely say I think Bitcoin is great, but make sure to note how much quicker and stronger and how much of a test network that Litecoin is. I don't know. It's kind of how I feel about it. But these sentiments are constantly echoed by a lot of people. We've had this for about a month and a half now that people are constantly coming forward. They keep saying that they don't think that the market is going to go a lot lower. And even realistically, I mean, a lot of people have been saying if like XRP is like 35 cents or something like that, people are like, I'll wait till it goes back to 28 cents. And I'm like, does the 7 cents really bother you that much? It's pennies. Like if XRP ends up going to like $15 in 2019, the 7 cents will seem like nothing. That's just kind of how I think about things. I mean, once again, as Charlie Lee said, never invest more than you can afford to lose. But I don't see prices not even going much lower. They may dip a tiny bit, but prices will not be this way 365 days from now. I mean, we'll come back to this video. Let's try and mark this on a calendar, and I'll come back to this video in a year if prices are exactly the same. Next up, the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, I don't know if it's St. Louis or St. Louis, I want to say Louis, has published another research paper validating Bitcoin's legitimacy as a currency, even when used as a tool to facilitate private transactions. The report, which was written by economist Charles Kahn and published by the St. Louis Fed last month, examines the role of private payments in monetary systems. Kahn argues that beyond their attractiveness for illegal transactions, private payments serve important, legitimate functions in any monetary system, namely protecting from maleficence or negligence by counterparties or the payments system provider itself. Traditionally, this payments niche was filled by cash, but cash is quickly being replaced by digital payments. This, Kahn explains, does not mean that demand for private transactions will disappear. On the contrary, rather, he says that the replacement of cash by central banks' electronic money is likely to spur demand for alternative means of payments to solve specific privacy problems. One of these alternative payment systems is Bitcoin. He said, and I do quote, "Thus, there is a legitimate market for privacy of transactions. Bitcoin is in this market. The providers of stored value cards are in this market. To a certain extent, PayPal is in this market, as are the credit card companies with their tokenization programs for internet transactions, and government-provided currency is in this market," end quote. But while third-party payments such as PayPal and credit card processors may provide users with privacy from their counterparties, they expose personal information to the system itself. Bitcoin, however, does not. Okay. One of the cool features of Bitcoin is its ability to permit transactions across a network while maintaining privacy from the Bitcoin system. That's all kind of false. I told you guys before, I even read through the things where the person from, what was it, the Fed or the SEC? I don't know, it wasn't the SEC. Someone in America in some sort of financial said that they want criminals to continue to use Bitcoin because they're able to track Bitcoin addresses. They know they can, if you want to, you can figure out exactly which Bitcoin payment went to what IP address on which Wi-Fi network, so you can actually tell where it's going. And by all accounts, if you can match up the IP address to the person's address or the payment that they are using every single month to pay for their Wi-Fi, this is kind of how you get it. So this is all kind of weird. Should Bitcoin become private, this will be less weird, but I'll continue reading on because it gets very important. I actually have it clicked over here. He said, notably, the paper further argues that central banks should not attempt to create anonymous digital cash, as it is unlikely that the public will ever believe that the government would willingly create a digital currency that did not have backdoors. Please keep that in mind. He said, and I quote, "To believe that the CIA has imprinted paper money with the technology, enabling it to report hand-to-hand transactions, is paranoia. To believe that spy agencies have backdoors to common computer programs is last week's news. Generating trust and the privacy promises of a public payments authority, new electronic money, will be an extremely tall order." Going to give you a little bit of a story, not even history lesson, like a last 8-week history lesson of exactly what's been going on. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I think my entire life by this point is just completely digital. I'm listening to podcasts when I walk down the street. If I'm not walking down the street, if I'm sitting on a bus, I'm reading crypto news. If I'm not doing that, whenever I'm home and I have free time, I'm reading through the crypto news as well, just to kind of, my brain is just digital news at this point. If you read about what's been happening about economies around the world and about debt and about what's been happening to US debt, what's happening right now is that we have a lot of countries around the world who are trying to get away from the US dollar. Whether you believe that or not, it is actually happening. You can actually, there was a CNBC article, I think it came out yesterday. My friend sent it to me, yes, the same friend who I'm always talking about. And it was pretty much about, I think, the countries that have sanctions against them are trying to create their own, not banking system, but like a coalition to be able to move away from the US dollar. What's happening is around the world right now, and a lot of people may not know this, is that if you are not America, I'll put it that way, and you want to transact against something, let's say you are China and you want to buy oranges, you actually have to change your local currency into the US dollar in order to be able to buy these oranges. And once you have the oranges, you have to then transact your money back into your own currency. So it's a constant swap. And this is why the US dollar, and to some extent the euro, have such large daily volume, because you are required by the United States in order to do this. And when this is happening, all as this is happening, the US is accumulating trillions of dollars worth of debt that is going to be it's already a huge problem. This is why I said, pay attention. Why do you think all these institutions and stuff like that are getting into the cryptocurrency space? Why do you think everyone's talking about crypto being the future or Bitcoin being the future? Why are they looking for an alternative to the strong US dollar? That's just one thing. On the side of this as well, the idea is I was listening to a speech, or not a speech, like it was a discussion by Andreas Antonopoulos. He's not my favorite person in the entire world. I think he is having an affair with Bitcoin. He's like too obsessed with it, but I mean, to some extent, I'm obsessed with crypto in general, so I can kind of get where it's going. Anyway, the point is, he was having a discussion and he was saying that what's going to end up happening is, he said, right now, where we are right now today, he said, crypto will not end. Crypto will not be destroyed. He said, even if Bitcoin doesn't make it, there's going to be a very bright future for crypto, because of the amount of people who are getting into the network and into the system every single day only continues to accelerate. I think at this point, I think it's estimated to be around 25 million people around the world who are actually into crypto. I think we have like 150 million wallet addresses or something like that. But that also goes into the fact that they believe that most people probably have more than just one wallet address. So this is kind of where we get these numbers from. He said that as time goes on and as governments continue to realize that their debt is spiraling out of control, we're going to have a lot of instances like what we're seeing right now in Venezuela, in Iran, and in also North Korea, which is, like I said, mind-boggling, where they're going to start creating their own crypto, like Venezuela has. And what's going to end up happening is that their people in their countries are not going to accept it. You know, people in Venezuela, if you've been reading the news, you can Google it. It's all over the place. The president he's forcing people to use the new crypto that he created, and people aren't using it. They're actually buying up tons of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dash being like the odd dog out. And pretty much there are people who have been thrown in jail for mining crypto because the president just wants everyone to just mine, not even mine his coin, just to use that certain coin. So a lot of people who are kind of secretly trying to mine these other cryptocurrencies, and it's kind of, you know, goes into this entire thing. As these central banks and central authorities and these governments are starting to create their own crypto, their citizens will not trust them. And along with all of this, if we go, let's say like to around the year 2023, which is constantly something that's quoted, a lot of people are saying that as the effect of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies continues to spread, especially as Bitcoin's price goes a lot higher, more people know about it, more people start buying into it. When the New York Stock Exchange and all these other crypto exchanges around the world, or even stock exchanges around the world, are having support for crypto, and other people will start buying even just small fragments of it. They'll start to trust the decentralized crypto systems more because it'll be something that is in their head for the last 5 years. They've trusted these decentralized systems. When governments start to, or potentially one day, buckle under the weight of their own debt, I'll say that's a nice way of saying it, and they try to create their own crypto as a response, not only to them trying to, not fight against other countries, but try to regain their dominance, and even trying to fight against the superiority of cryptocurrencies that we have now, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever coin you are holding on that you love. They're going to end up failing because everyone knows, and it should be common knowledge at this point, that when governments create their own cryptocurrencies, they're going to have a backdoor. They're going to have a way where if something is wrong in the economy, if something is wrong with their system, if something is wrong with whatever, they can just hit a button and your money will be frozen because they control it. What happens when we have a system, or where people have known digital currencies for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, where they can use it freely, they can transact back and forth, no one can freeze their payments, and then governments come out with it, something happens to the economy, they start freezing payments, they start taking money out of your account digitally because they are able to do so because everything is run on one central computer. This will then cause even more people to run to Bitcoin, and this is why it's very fascinating, because I was trying to figure out why people kept on saying we would have these valuations of $250,000 Bitcoin or $1 million Bitcoin within the next 5, 6, 7 years, what have you. And it comes down to this. They think that there's going to be a huge problem with the US debt and world debt. Even I think just student debt and medical debt within the US is the highest in the entire world. Student loan debt, credit card debt, and medical debt. I think that alone is already enough to collapse the world. Now imagine just the rest of the world, all of their debt as well. So this is why I believe everything kind of lines up with all of this kind of becoming true, in that the debt can't last forever. And this is what people will start to slide over to as they realize that the world systems and potentially even the US dollar cannot hold themselves anymore because they're buckling under $21 trillion worth of debt just within the US alone. It's actually kind of insane. It's actually, and that's, I think, personal debt or something like that, because there's also, if you look at bond debt and I think stock debt and all these other things, I think it comes out to $50 trillion. It's just absolutely insane how much debt is rolling around the world that is never going to be paid back. It's all kind of fascinating. Let's move on from here. Next up, Lloyd's of London. The centuries-old insurance marketplace is quietly providing cover against the theft of cryptocurrencies. Announced on Tuesday, Kingdom Trust, a qualified custodian of some 30 cryptocurrencies and tokens, is enhancing its safekeeping services with issuance cover for theft and loss due to natural disaster, courtesy of underwriters in the Lloyd's market. Kingdom Trust, which came close to being purchased this year by BitGo, a qualified custodian, which means it guards the private keys of troves of cryptocurrencies to a standard deemed acceptable to regulated financial institutions. Matt Jennings, who is the CEO of Kingdom Trust, said in the statement, "We serve both institutional and individual investors by providing qualified custody, which gives our clients the framework they need to ensure compliance with their regulators using clear and transparent reporting. Stepping back, the ultra-conservative world of insurance is slowly becoming more interested in providing cover for properly custodied digital assets. In the US, AIG, XL, Catlin, Chubb, and Mitsutomo Insurance have been mentioned in the press, but for now, all are keeping a low profile. And Lloyd's is also treading carefully. Lloyd's Corporation, which is the legal umbrella made up of groups of syndicates spreading risk across the market, would not comment on whether managing assets or agents might be offering crypto theft cover, and the syndicates doing it were not named. This is not surprising to me, but I think it's funny how you have to be quiet when you are entering the crypto market, when you are offering these custodian things. There's so many of these places. I think the legacies of these places are so important to them that they're terrified of admitting that they're touching cryptocurrencies because it's still not seen as hyper legitimate. People know that you can make money off of it. People know that other people are interested, but it's not a It's not like the stock market. It's not something that's so legitimate that you can just kind of openly say that you're getting into it. But I like that these things are happening. I like that these older institutions are realizing that there's something there. And it's really funny because I'm pretty sure that they're all getting into it. Like all the older institutions who just aren't talking about it, I'm sure they're getting into it at the exact same time. And they're all hush hush and not telling their friends that they're also getting into it. And in about a year or two, they'll all try to brag that they got into the market at the exact same time or whatever the case might be, not realizing that they were all doing the exact same thing because they're all trying to profit. Don't be afraid of getting into the cryptocurrency market if you are in institutional custodian or whatever the case might be. The crypto is already huge. We know it's going to continue. And that's kind of all I'm going to say about that. Next up, the Bitcoin Lightning Network is in the news. In a recent interview, Sergey Kotlyar, who is the CEO of Bitrefill, was asked a series of questions regarding customer service, technological advancements, and the future of the Lightning Network with respect to the company's future. Bitrefill is a cryptocurrency cell phone top-up company and one of the first companies to embrace the bleeding-edge technology to integrate near-zero-fee Lightning Network payments for its mobile phone top-up service. Their aim is to open Bitcoin Lightning Network payments for many products and have started off by selling gift vouchers to Amazon and other brands. Sergey, I'm going to say Sergey, was asked about the reason for his decision to implement Lightning payments, as Bitrefill was one of the first businesses to integrate such payments. He stated that they have been monitoring the technology and scaling Bitcoin to the masses can be possibly won through payment channels. There was discussion about how Lightning Network was not the only project implemented to improve payments experience. Some of the other contributions including optimizing Bitcoin payments and wallet management, integration of different altcoins. You can tell as I get further into the video, you can tell like my language skills are just collapsing. Off-chain integrations. Lightning Network has been growing rapidly with over 3,000 nodes. Sergey was asked about the availability of the technology in the market. He said, and I quote, "It's definitely ready enough for early adopters already. The experience with the Android wallets already is actually quite good despite being beta. The main thing missing are good wallets for desktop and or iOS that doesn't require running a full node." Not going to really read too much more. Lightning Network is going to constantly be in the news. It's still expected that Lightning will not be completed for like the next 2 years, give or take. But the idea is that when we finally do have Lightning on Bitcoin, that Bitcoin will stop being this store of value and or digital gold and will kind of transfer into an actual payment method. But what's interesting to note about this is that if you pay attention to the price predictions or the future forecasts for the cryptocurrency market, specifically Bitcoin, by the time Lightning Network is expected to be fully implemented or activated by exchanges, the price of Bitcoin is expected to be around $250,000, which would be quite interesting because at that point, Bitcoin will also have been or become so expensive that normal people simply can't even buy small fractions of it anymore. And people will just probably only want to use it as a store of wealth as they realize mathematically that your Bitcoin will probably still continuously only go up in value. But yeah, that is the Lightning Network, if you will, news for today. Last up, we have some Bitcoin back and forth news. I don't really know how to say that. Anyway, Willy Woo, who we've spoken about before, a cryptocurrency researcher and respected investor, has said that the 2018 Bitcoin correction was not out to be like the 2014 slump, when the price of Bitcoin dropped 90% and remained in a low price range for several years. In essence, Wu stated that the structure of the cryptocurrency exchange market in 2018 is significantly different than 4 years ago. In 2014, Bitcoin suffered the worst correction in its history, dropping by 90% and remaining in a low range price for several years until 2017. Based on historical evidence about the tendency of Bitcoin to take a year or two to properly recover from its major corrections, some experts have suggested that Bitcoin will not be able to rebound speedily by the end of 2018. Wu emphasized that in 2014, the correction of Bitcoin was intensified by the bankruptcy of Mt. Gox, the now defunct cryptocurrency exchange. It had complete dominance over the Bitcoin market. At the time, Mt. Gox handled 90% of Bitcoin trades in the global market, with extremely poor internal management systems and virtually non-existent security measures. If you have a chance to read about the entire Mt. Gox thing, if you were not here around the time that this happened, it was actually insane when you think about it. I had a friend who was in Mt. Gox, not working there, but he was actually using it. And then we come to find out that they were controlling or had 90% of all they had almost all the Bitcoin that was in existence. They were one of the only places. There were other places that tried to launch or get started, like other crypto places where you could buy and stuff like that, but everyone was just focused on Mt. Gox because they thought that it was the best place in the entire world, because I think it was promoted by a couple of other people who now have their own crypto exchanges, and that's very hush-hush. They refused to even be associated with the idea that they were even touching Mt. Gox. And when Mt. Gox fell apart, the entire crypto space fell apart because people weren't able to differentiate that Bitcoin was not Mt. Gox. The same way, like if someone said, "Oh yeah, Coinbase is Bitcoin," you would laugh at them. This was the idea in 2013 and 14, though, is that Mt. Gox was the place to get Bitcoin. People thought that Mt. Gox was creating these Bitcoin and that they were then selling them off. So this was kind of the mind frame that people had back then. Consequently, as Mt. Gox experienced a $1 billion hacking attack, they were actually hacked multiple times and declared bankruptcy. The cryptocurrency market fell and Bitcoin struggled to recover for 2 years thereafter. However, throughout 2018, a growing number of institutional investors have continued to show growing demand for cryptocurrencies as an emerging asset class, and the digital asset industry has seen the efforts of companies like Coinbase and Gemini to lure in investors in the broader financial market to Bitcoin. More importantly, the New York Stock Exchange, Microsoft, and Starbucks launched a joint initiative called BACT in order to improve the usability and adoption of cryptocurrencies worldwide. I think it's funny that Starbucks came forward as well after all of this, and they said that they wouldn't be accepting crypto. And it's like, why would you be in an initiative to make crypto, especially Bitcoin, go worldwide as a payment option, or to become this major entity and not admit that you're going to accept it? Maybe it's because I don't own a multi-billion-dollar corporation. I don't understand maybe it's just to keep prices down. I maybe just have answered my own question. It's very odd. Just announce it. If Microsoft and Starbucks are joining with the New York Stock Exchange to make cryptocurrency adoption around the world accelerate and to allow for other corporations and companies to accept Bitcoin as a payment method, come on. I mean, it's kind of all there. Anyway, one of the first initiatives BACT has led in August is assisting major cryptocurrency exchanges in finding a trusted price formation for digital assets, which experts believe will drastically increase the profitability of an ETF approval. Another view of a long-term recovery worth bearing in mind, 2014-2015, was detoxing from a Mt. Gox collapse, trading 90% of the world volume, plus 1/8 of all Bitcoin stolen, plus Willybot pumping prices. Systemically, Bitcoin 2018 is much healthier than Bitcoin in 2014. Throughout end of 2014 to 2017, every time Bitcoin was spoken about on TV, and it's very interesting to note how they have closed their traps. That's the nicest way of saying it. You almost never hear about Mt. Gox. You almost never hear about Silk Road. Remember Silk Road? You never hear about Bitcoin being illegal anymore. Every time news corporations or news entities or anyone talks about cryptocurrencies, it's always now in a positive light. Even if prices are going down, think about that. Just a year and a half ago, they did everything in their power to shut down cryptocurrencies. They said they were a scam. They said they were this. Why are people using them? And now they talk about them in such great ways, especially when Bitcoin goes down by 10%. Listen to the language that they use when they talk about it. They go, it's a bad day for crypto, but it's still a good time to buy. Listen to all these things. Listen to how hyped up they are to now talk about this. It's the same exact way when they talk about stocks and stuff like that. Like, it's all crypto's so, I don't even want to say mainstream. Crypto's going to get there. The door's open. We can walk through it. But the floor's a little dirty. We have to still sweep it up. But it's interesting to note exactly how different cryptocurrency has changed. Even the comparison from 2014 to 2018, it's a very different place. All of the infrastructure that has been built up this year, all the institutions who were talking about that they're getting into the cryptocurrency space and how they want to make Bitcoin do this, and how they're even like all the custodians. We didn't have any of this in 2014, 13, or 12. Still waiting for the bull run that has been predicted. As of the time of me making this video, we are still in August. So I guess we're not in September yet. But I guess that is pretty much the news, at least for now. There's a lot of news. Didn't even get to cover all of it. Sorry if I sound... One, thank you if you've lasted this long. Hello. And sorry if I sound a bit out of breath. Not gonna lie, I tried recording this video before. I got about halfway through and then I realized that I actually wasn't recording. That's my mistake. I've done that many times before. It's actually very depressing to realize that you've made a video and then you realize that you actually weren't recording the entire time. I hope you all have a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. Thank you once again for watching. I do appreciate all the support. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Hope it's incredible. Thank you once again, and I will talk to you all soon. See you.